Hey everyone, and welcome back to Kharak Cup number 9. I just realized I literally just started watching the replay right after sending a message to someone on Discord who I know he just responded to, so that's kind of silly. Anyway, gonna be the last game from round 3 right here between Descara and Maze. And once again, I think we know who the favored player here ought to be. Read into that what you will based on the comments on the last video. I feel like I can't say it either way now. But yeah, you know. So we got Descara here playing as the Galzian Mind here. And I imagine he's going to go for that same build. No, he's putting 4 on the CUs. He may be mixing things up because he doesn't want to do this against, what do you call him? Against Soban, right? Or maybe I thought his order was to do 2 on RUs and then after a quick drop, flip 1 of them onto CUs. Yeah, so he's going to do a bit more of a macro style, it looks like. Which is understandable. Playing against Soban on the shallows, kind of like the exact antithesis of where you would want to be doing a rush build. It looks like it's going to be very, very early refinery mode for Descara. And he's going to go ahead and send 2 more salvagers over onto that base, so he's definitely playing pretty eco-heavy. LAV fabrication, meanwhile, is already finished for Maze. So there's some potential for damage to be done there if his opponent's not ready for like an LAV blob to come in, but I imagine it'd be pretty minimal. Usually pretty safe to go for these kinds of really aggressive plays, like really aggressive eco plays. That's kind of the exact opposite on this map. About 20 seconds left to refinery mode, and I think Descara is probably going to move his carry over here based on the positioning of that production cruiser. Skimmer fabrication on the way, and he's probably going to want to make those right after that's finished. Usually you'd be a bit scared of LAVs coming in, so you want to get some defense. Oh, looks like he's actually going to make another salvager right here. Refinery mode is finished. Descara on 2 bases very quickly. And Maze should see this if he puts his probe over kind of in this direction. Yeah, there you go. He should see, okay, carrier's leaving. That can only mean one thing. I mean, unless my opponent is, like, insane, which Descara seems like a pretty mellow guy to me. He must have refinery mode right now, or else he wouldn't be doing this. Sport cruisers on the way for Maze, so they're basically mirroring each other. AV fabrication also finishing here. So this is pretty similar to what we saw from Shrike, where you go for the LAV fabrication first, but then you make the sport cruiser first. Again, I think it's maybe a bit questionable. It gets AV fabrication out faster, but you can't make them now, right? So I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I'm also not really a coalition player, so I'm sure there's like a reason behind it. Descara tends to put his carrier in this position here so that it can also be like a drop-off point for that base. I wonder if that's actually more effective or not, but he's going to go for railgun fabrication. And that's that. A little bit of a scuffle potentially going down here. Actually, both players choosing to run away. They don't have any interest in this fight. Descara using that tiny little hill there very well. You notice he popped back almost immediately when he saw that his opponent was moving off in that direction. A bit of a concave here though, and he could close in on this unit. I think that'd be really nice to see. Then again, what's the value for like a single LAV, right? So here comes Speed Racer, and he should take out this LAV without too much problem, right? Well, maybe not if there's an ALM here, but well, first it would need power in it though, wouldn't it? I imagine he just put that down because he needed more logistics in general. I think it would definitely be a bit of an overreaction to drop down an ALM for like a single LAV, but the positioning of this is quite nice, and it's going to be very relevant pretty soon if Descara chooses to pressure it all with those sand skimmers. So that's, I think, totally fine. Really like to see him power that up though. I mean, just you know, for obvious reasons. Now, second production cruiser's out for coming out for Descara. Assault railguns are already on the way. You know, assault railguns can be very powerful units when they're used right. I think both players had retired their base runners, so definitely no artifacts getting extracted at this early point here. And Descara going immediately into honor guard cruisers. That's pretty cool to see. You don't see that very often, but when it is pulled, it tends to be very effective. So that's something that I'm quite happy to see. And this may also be a reaction to Maze himself and how he tends to play. I mean, like, look how many LAVs this is. We all kind of expect this from Maze. So, you know, honor guard's probably not a bad choice right here. Still another 50 sec. Oh, sorry, I'm missing some action here. Sandscream is actually getting caught out pretty badly. And I think boost is finished. Yeah, okay. So this assault railgun could also potentially be in some danger. And that'll happen when you go for an early tech like this. You can see it definitely slowed down Descara's military production. Power Reserve 1 is on the way. He's already powering up the range. Gonna power up those weapons too in just a second, I'm sure. If I were Descara, probably I'm making another production cruiser at this point. And it's gonna go for railgun armor too. I guess that makes sense as well. But the thought is that if you're gonna start making honor guard cruisers, you want to be able to free up the carrier as fast as possible. That is pretty quick though, so maybe it's not quite the same in this scenario. But yeah. Descara very smoothly getting onto 3 bases here and hasn't really been pressured at all. These LAV's not really going to be able to cut it. And unless his opponent has got railgun fabrication, which he doesn't, he's not going to be able... Whoa. Excuse me. Sorry. Unless his opponent has got railgun fabrication, which he doesn't, he's getting it now, but he doesn't have it. He's not going to be able to pressure these assault railguns really anytime soon. Honor Guard Cruiser is already on the way, which is crazy. And Maze is going for support cruiser anti-air, but that is very expensive and very useless in this scenario. I don't think... It's fine to go for anti-air when you suspect it's going to be coming, but I don't think there's really any tell for that this time. Descara probably wants to keep that base runner behind the AR, see if he can use the heal at all, but... You know, just in case he gets pushed, that's kind of not as important. One thing that could hurt Descara would be like an air transition right here, but then the honor guards have actually very good anti-air on them. I was playing a game with Empty Soul recently where I tried to just only use honor guard cruisers for like anti-air and it did not work, so I don't think it's really sufficient on its own, but it is very powerful. So make no mistake about that. So LAV's going to take the long angle over here. And Descara, with an honor guard cruiser popping out right now, feels pretty confident just leaving. And I gotta say, you know, why not? I think he's very well covered on the back foot here. Probably doesn't want to move out with this honor guard, though. He knows that those LAVs are in this position, and probably suspects then that they're going to go for a backstab here. But as you can see, he is trying to close off that location. No upgrades for those yet, but there is damage 1 on the LAVs. Honor Guard in a bad position here, though. It's behind the hill, and there's actually some real danger that, you know, the Honor Guard could get jumped on by these guys if they realize it's there. They can see it, mind you. Oh my gosh. Oh. That was not the right place to go. Oof. Yeah, Honor Guard cruisers are pretty nasty things. You definitely need to be careful against them. I think that was the scenario where Maze actually could have done some real damage. He had the boost speed on right then. He saw the Honor Guard cruiser right here, so if you just boost right over this hill and then get behind it. A lot of you have played Company of Heroes too, I imagine. It's like a shtuk, you know? Obviously it's going to beat a T-70, but not if you can run around it in circles, eh? Hopefully you get the metaphor. Shtuk is ready! And interestingly, May's going for battlecruiser fabrication. That's pretty quick. But why is he doing that? Well, Honor Guard cruisers really get wrecked by Saban battlecruisers. That's actually not a bad idea. The problem is that Saban battlecruisers, like, it sounds very counterintuitive, I know, but they're actually very bad against railguns. Just don't ask why. It's just so. So if Descara is going for heavy rails now, he should be fine in that regard. Normally you wouldn't want to play rails versus Soban, but if you already have Honor Guard cruisers out, you're probably fine. Some Sandskimmer upgrades also on the way now for Descara, and he does have missile batteries. He knows that's definitely something he wants to be covered for. Doesn't want to go for that Honor Guard cruiser anti-air unless he needs to. But it paid off a bit, didn't it, those Honor Guard cruisers? That was insane. And Descara actually floating quite a lot, which is sort of unusual for him. The problem is that he's fleet capped, of course. Which is good to see that it doesn't just happen to me. Then again, he's not really a Gaussian main, so a little bit less excusable than I'd like to say. This base runner here is going to have the very risky task of trying to pick up that artifact. Very much in hostile territory, and being stunned there as well is not going to help, so he'll go down. But at any rate, that means that Maze can't get it. I don't know if he even has base runner on the field, though, so... Okay, so BC fabrication's finished now. You can see it takes a long time. Shrike probably going to start... sorry, May's probably going to want to make those immediately, and yeah, you can see it being queued up there. And at the moment, that counters everything that's on the field quite nicely. I was expecting to see a lot more heavy rails from Descara. But yeah, I mean, Honor Guard cruisers really will get wrecked by those battle cruisers. The reason, of course, is that we tend to think, for some reason, of Honor Guard cruisers as like some really big, heavy-hitting unit, but they're not really. I don't know how that mindset got started, but in reality, they do the damage of like 1.5 railguns, right? So it's not really that deadly, especially against like carriers, for example. And yeah, it's not a very deadly unit. Really, it's deadly against groups of units. And battle cruisers, obviously, with a lot of armor, a lot of HP, and there's just one of them, you're not really going to get much value out of an Honor Guard cruiser in that scenario. So even like normal battle cruisers, Honor Guard cruisers are not particularly good at. But Soban ones can also shoot back. They've got the range, obviously. Not as much range as the railgun, which I always thought was a little weird, but they've got the range, so they should do fine in that scenario. If it comes to a railgun fight here, though, Maze wants to be very careful. That Honor Guard cruiser's in the area, and has a very high HP pool. It's going to take a lot of damage for him to kill this thing. You can see the damage already being done to those sub-on-rails there. Like I said, this is normally a fight the Gaussian can't take, but if they've got an Honor Guard cruiser in there, they can take it. They can definitely take it. Now, assault railguns are also in this position over here, but the Saban battle cruiser's out already, so that's not gonna come to fruition, I wouldn't think. But at least Descara will know now what's up. AAV's very damaged, gonna have to back away. They can't get that support cruiser, but there's no rail support left in this army, really. There are, however, 2 Saban battle cruisers, which I think that's a third on the way as well. With those AAVs, that should be pretty good coverage, and I don't think Descara will be able to push in just yet. He's going to go definitely for the momentum play here, though. Not interested in this 4th base location. He's going to hold his opponent off of his, which is what you'd want to do in that scenario. But yeah, if you mass up Saban railguns, it's really hard to fight them unless you have a lot of rails to counter, which right now he just doesn't, so... May's bleeding a lot of resources to those ALMs, though, and it can be very tempting to say, well, yeah, look, they're giving me good value, they're stunning my opponent's units, but unless that results in, like, saving you from getting killed or killing your opponent, they're not really going to do too much. And you can see Honor Guard cruisers here, very good at taking those out, so... Because they're basically like railguns that always hit, right? So... One Saban battle cruiser goes down there, no smoke was popped. The other 2 are kind of fighting piecemeal here as well, and there's no railgun coverage, so it looks like they're going to go down without too much of a fight. There goes that second one. And yeah, like I was saying, it sounds counterintuitive, but Saban battle cruiser is definitely countered by railguns. And in this case, I think it was a little bit sloppy from I keep saying Shrike. Have I called him Shrike like 50 times already this game? I think I have. Maze, that they weren't all fighting at the same time there, but still, like, this is a good illustration of why the battle cruiser is actually countered by the railguns. Its damage is, like, I think, is equal to 4 railguns. I'm not totally sure, though. It might honestly not be. But its fire rate is much lower, so it's quite noticeably worse than railguns in that regard. The high HP pool should mean that it wins then, but actually you'll find that if you pair up 1 BC against 4 rails, it loses, so... I always thought that was a bit weird, but that's just how it is, I guess. In other news, you can see that Descara doing tons of damage to his opponent right here. He might honestly get a carrier kill, but certainly the battle cruisers are not going to hold Maze into this fight much longer. So yeah, just 1 Honor Guard cruiser being made, just 1, but you can see it really turned the tide of this battle. And Descara would take a nice clean win. I know personally the way that I play Soban, it's always in 2v2, I very rarely do it in 1v1, so this might not be very applicable. But I basically tend to just mass up railguns and AAVs, and then if my opponent starts getting like siege cruisers or, I don't know, Honor Guards or something like that, then I'll go for the battle cruiser. Which, I mean, I guess that's what Shrike did here, but... I never want to overdo it, you know what I mean? Generally, I think the Soban strength really is in their railguns, not in their battle cruiser. But, that is fine. That is fine. I'll be going ahead and casting round 4 next week. Next week. Tomorrow. Sorry, next day. You know, I get them mixed up. I know, you all had like a heart attack there because you enjoy my trash content so much, but... I hope you enjoyed it, though. And I'll catch you tomorrow for some round 4 action.